test. Welcome, everybody. Today's amazing because it's the day of the Trees, one of my favorite all-time producers. Definitely those psychedelic wubs that get you lost in the fields. And we want to go ahead and check this out. I basically tried to recreate one of his tracks and I learned a lot on the way. I want to show you guys everything I learned and all these cool techniques that he does too. Then it just keeps looping. This also has extra versions. So this is the soft version that I'm playing. We have some extra versions like a four-ment version, more vowely. We also have a dirtier version that has this dirty layer and a sine mono layer. I'll show you all of these basically, and remember these presets will be in my Patreon if you guys want these presets right off the rip. Otherwise, I'm going to show you guys how to make them right now, and the full project will be in the Patreon too. We're going to start with the call bass because this is the main big hitter. Keep in mind we're in E minor, so we're going to be using E most of the time. Our response basses over here are all in E0, but this call is going to go to F down to E. So we're actually going to use one of the notes that are not in the scale, create some tension and dissonance, and then drop down to our root note. There's also a lot of white noise in this as well. There's nothing on the groups, just so you can see here. The call bass is going to be a serum, multiband dynamics to get it loud. We have 6 dB on the inputs, turning up each band, and then slight compression on each band, about 74% on multiband dynamics. In the EQ8, we're cutting it at 100, ducking the mids down at 742 with this Q. Another EQ8, cutting the lows, ducking down, and then a clipper, just clipping it at 0 at the end. That's our main post-processing. If we go here and open up Serum, we'll be able to see the actual patch. Like I said, the noise is playing a big role here. So see the noise oscillator, we turn it off. Get a dramatically different sound. So keep that in mind. This noise is going to be doing some heavy lifting. LFO1 is controlling all the movement. Oscillator A is going to be a sine wave. Oscillator B is going to be a dirtier wavetable, the Monster 7. And we're going to be using FM from B. So oscillator B is turned all the way down. And then we're bringing in that signal into A from B. FM from B is turned up to 42%. This is basic shapes. We're on the sine wave right here. This is going to be a fundamental wave used in this type of genre. And we're going to be able to make different sounds just by changing the wavetable. So you can have an infinite amount of possibilities, plus you can move the wavetable position to scrub through the different sounds, which is what we're doing. So wavetable position will go up 6 on the LFO, and then ASIM plus is turned on. LFO is going on that up 39. We're going to be creating some movement. I'll turn off all the effects for now. So noise oscillator, you're also going to turn this on. Level will be on 17%, and LFO1 goes on the level, going up 13. So we're slightly adding that noise before, after. Then we're going to add this filter, MG Low 6, and turn up the drive. So we're kind of boosting the frequencies for oscillator A and B. Keep in mind these are turned on. Noise is not turned on. Resonance 25, cutoff 687, drive 55. So this is cutting the highs, turning it up, putting it in a filter. Make the shape, it's a little boob, and then you do this little bit of silence at the end. Quarter note rate on trigger. And then this is where we're going to be. Remember, we're playing octave 0, E0. Then we're going to add some width. Hyper is going to go on 8%. Dimensions all the way down. Then we're going to put the LFO on the hyper, adding some width. We're going to turn it up 29 on the LFO amount. Distortion is making it gritty, adding those odd harmonics. Drive is at 83%. Tube distortion. Mix is 100. So let's listen with the wideness turned off, then wideness on, distortion off, distortion on. Now here we're distorting that noise and the sounds together. That's one of the main things we want to do here. Then we compress it. Turn on multiband. We're going to turn up the gain to 5 dB. Turn down the threshold to -12. Activating it, turning up the frequencies even more. And this could be to taste. You could even turn down this if you like and blend in the signal as needed. This last EQ is adding some movement in these formants right here. So you're going to turn on this little notch. Frequency is going to be on 2969 naturally. LFO goes on the frequency. It goes down -4. The Q is 43%. And the gain is turned up 16. And watch this movement here. So if you move this, it'll make a dramatically different sound. Like this. You're like choosing a frequency to attenuate. And you're focusing on that frequency. So it's really cool, very powerful. Keep that in mind. Lots of different basses you can make out of these. So we're going to leave it right there. 2968 is fine. And then we want to go ahead and look at the post-processing. So with multiband dynamics off, EQ8 off, you're going to hear it regular. Adding another multiband dynamics, turning it up. It's going 74% right here. Check the settings here. EQ8, another EQ8. We're cleaning these frequencies now. Before, after, cutting the lows and turning down some mids. Then doing some more, turn down mids and cut lows. And then G clip at the end, this is free. Clips it at 0 dB so it doesn't go past 0. Controlling the signal. So that's nice. That's going to be our call. And then we get the basses up next. So keep in mind these two calls, they're sustained notes playing this LFO at quarter note with the noise. But then we basically remove the noise and we start going into a different sound. So we'll listen to this one. We'll listen to the full mix. Oh, and I'm sure you've noticed too that vocal in the background doing some heavy lifting. I'll show you how to make one of these here upcoming soon. Use one of these transgates. It's really sick. But just so you know what it sounds like before. What kind of voodoo do? What kind of voodoo do? So that eventually turns into this. Cool. So we're going to leave that frozen for now. And let's go ahead and go back into this bass. So this is the main bass playing. We're only playing one. All these are deactivated. Don't even pay attention to these right now. It's just this one. But do keep in mind, it's in a group. Main basses. The group has some processing, making it louder, like this multiband dynamics on 27%. G clip is clipping it at 0. We have EQ8 further cleaning the signal, and then reverb at the end, which has some automation that we'll get into. Let's go ahead and listen now to this bass and listen to it without the processing. So we're going to start making this bass now. This is our main bass. We have some processing on here as well that we're going to turn off. We'll start from the get-go. So this is basically a sine wave, but we're using an FM sine wave, and we're adding some extra tones using this ASIM. So let's look at this. Filter's doing a lot. And then these effects are doing a lot too. So we're going to turn these off. You're going to start just with a basic shape sine wave. Just a sub, basically. Turn up FM from B, turn it up to 40, and put the LFO on the level going all the way up. This LFO shape looks like this, little shark fin. It's on quarter note and on trigger. So this is going to be our main movement. Then we need to bring in some sound. So we turn on oscillator B. The level's all the way down. And the FM from B now will activate because this is turned on. So let's check that. So we're getting some sound. You see this is kind of moving. And that's because this wavetable position is moving and this ASIM is moving. So you're going to turn on ASIM, add the LFO to it and have it go up 39. This wavetable position is moving because it's automated. So in the song, you'll see we move the wavetable position to get different tones while it's moving. But we can barely tell what's going on because we don't have all this extra post-processing. So once we start adding the filters and the loudness, you'll be able to tell the difference. First thing, this filter. This is putting it into its own little space, adding resonant peaks. It's doing a lot to the sound. It's at 149 cutoff, 25% resonance. Drive is at 55%, turning it up. Then we want to go add some width. Mix is at 8, LFO goes up 29. We add some distortion. Drive is at 83. This is tube distortion. Compression, multiband, gains up at 5. Threshold is down, -12. I see we're really pulling up these frequencies now with the compression. EQ, doing a little one of those notches again. Frequencies at 2969, Q's 43, gain is 16. Lastly, we're going to add a filter, comb filter, to add extra tones at the end. Further putting it in a cool filter. Cutoffs at 135, resonance at 14, drive at 9. So with it off, then with it on. It's a really nice metallic-y, dubstep-y sound. You can go this direction. You can keep it on the sine waves and go clean sine waves. It's really up to you on where you want to lead the sound. But I like the way this sounds with the comb on and the filter on. Cool. So then that's going to be the patch. We're going to add a little bit of movement with the phaser flanger, 13%. Movement around the stereo image. And then we're turning it up a little bit more with multiband dynamics, 86%. EQ8, cutting the lows, cutting the mids. Another EQ8, doing some more mids. Cutting some more of these lows. And then G-clip to finalize. And it's turned down, -5 over here in the mix. Track volume. Keep in mind, this is going to be playing in harmony with the quarter note sub underneath. This sub is going to be simple. Just sine wave on analog BD sine. We're turning up the wavetable position all the way. LFO's on that. Quarter note. The harmonics and the extra oomph is coming from this kick tight. Tuned to E0 naturally. A little bit of EQ8, cleaning up these frequencies. Saturation, turning it up 10. Camel Crusher, turning it up on tube warmth, specifically. Another EQ8, further cleaning it, 192 cut. Not the steepest slope. So we're just letting in harmonics this way. We can move it, add more, add less. It's really up to you and the taste of your song, but we're leaving it at 130. Actually, we'll do 175. Cool. Nice. So we're starting to make the main sounds. We're starting to pull them up. We have the sub now. We have the bass. We have the call. So we have this flow going. You see it like repeats. So every 2 bars here, we have the call, then the response, and then we repeat the call and response. Keep in mind too, we're at 127 beats per minute. This is like around house range. So we're making like dubstep at a slower BPM, really just vibing it out. We need to turn on these as well. So after you add your post-processing to your bass, you can have another group adding more processing. Usually this group will have more than just one bass here, and you'll be layering them together. But you can also use it this way too. So multiband dynamics, turn it up 27, G-clip. Before, it's a little quiet. So we're just using this to pull it up in the mix. EQ8 to further clean it. This is cutting a little bit too much, so you can always do this to taste. And then reverb, final reverb. This is going to be automated. So in Of the Trees, he does some sick reverb automation on some of the phrases. So listen to how this is doing. It's like reverb throws, basically going like super wet, going back to dry, and like moving with the space. Very creative, very sick. Now, this 4-bar phrase is our main phrase, and you'll see that the call actually changes a little bit halfway through. So this is our first call, and then second call is a little different. On this call, we just changed the FM from B. We turned it down. It's the same patch. We're just slightly modifying it so that it sounds a little bit different than the one before it. Adding more movement, so check that. So all these subtle little changes make a big difference over time in the song. And that's one of the main things he does a lot. There is a sustained sub that's not doing quarter note for the calls, and then the sub is quarter note after. Just keep that in mind too. We have 2 different subs with 2 different LFOs. One is sustained all the way, and the other one has the quarter note LFO flow. So now we're getting into the flow. We need to look at the drums. I want to go into these basses too. These are the other versions, but you can make so many different versions to yourself, make something unique and creative. We'll get into these here soon. But first, let's look at these drums because they're important. So we have a thumpy kick. I'll use this vamp, these vamp kicks. Add a little bit of compression, a little bit of drum bus. Kind of cut the mids. Then for the snare, it needs to be really tight, real punchy. So I layer 2 snares, a remedy snare and a charge snare or charge clap. So I'm layering a snare and a clap together. On the group, we also add reverb in parallel. So I have the dry signal and then reverb in parallel. Nice, loud, punchy, clean clap with a little bit of space. That's the goal. There will be a hat that's layered, adding a bouncing groove. This is going to be nice. Listen to that too. So that's the first phrase, is that. And then you can loop that, basically, the first 4 bars. But then at the end, he changes it up. So he does 4 kicks layered with 4 hi-hats. So let's listen to what that sounds like for the fill. It's a really cool turnaround. And this whole thing is our 8-bar, like our main motif. And then within the main motif, we have all these different calls and responses and movements. Real cool. I'll turn on this formant one. So this formant one basically is the same patch, but a different filter. This filter makes a big difference. So if I play this formant one compared to like this comb, you'll see big changes in the sound. So formant adds a lot of vowel-y movement, makes it sound like it's almost talking. Then you can move this. Right now it's at 66 hertz. You can just pick whatever sounds good to you. Focus on frequency, focus on what's playing, highs, mids, lows. You choose which frequency you want to go towards. Then we're going to go ahead and look at the vocal. I'm going to turn the other one back on. Actually, we'll listen to the dirty one. This is a layer stack. So you see lots of different versions we can create. First off, we'll put the original on and let's look at the vocal. Main goal was to find a vocal that I can somehow speed up and then chop to make it all punch and choppy. So my goal was to find a vocal. So I typed in vocal. I'm like looking around. I'm looking for something that has a lot of words, not just one phrase. And once I was clicking around, I came across these Evo sounds.
What kind of voodoo?
Where it's more like,
what kind of voodoo do you do?
You know that? So it's just like, he's just spitting it.
What kind of voodoo do you do?
And I know it's at 128, so we can speed this up by like double timing it.
What kind of voodoo do?
So all you got to do is basically throw in Voodoo Man. You can double click it, make sure it's on 128, and then hit divided by 2 to then make it go faster. So now we speed it up just by going double time.
What kind of voodoo do you do? What kind of voodoo do you do?
And then in the original song, it's pitched up vocal. So I just pitched this up 12 in octave.
What kind of voodoo do you do?
One of the cool effects that's going on is this transgate. So what we're going to do is go the extra step and add one of these cool transgates by kilohertz. This is 3. And listen to what it does. So off.
What kind of voodoo do? What kind of voodoo do? What kind of voodoo?
Now on.
What kind of voodoo do? What kind of voodoo do? What kind of voodoo do? What?
So this is making it like that stutter effect. Real cool. You can even change it.
What kind of voodoo do? 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 What kind of voodoo do?
And let's say I like that one.
What kind of voodoo do?
That's the one I picked originally. So now that we have this cool effect, then we're going to freeze it. Now that this is frozen, we can do the same thing. Make an audio track, hold Option, click and drag. And then now you have that new updated version with the stutter.
What kind of voodoo do?
And then you can go that extra step doing the beats, transients, arrow to the right, and turn this down.
What kind of voodoo do? What kind of voodoo do?
And really tighten up these vocals. And that's what I did. And we basically just duplicated that and put it in the mix. Now, that's the technique how I made it. We're going to delete this for now and go back to the other one that I made originally.
What kind of voodoo do? What kind of voodoo do? What?
So this one has the transgate. This one's pitched up plus 12, just like we said. And it's in 64 BPM. It's a double time.
What kind of voodoo?
This beats turned down to 10.
What kind of voodoo do? What kind of voodoo do? What kind of voodoo do? What kind of voodoo?
Then Serum Effects is going to be on here. We're going to add a comb filter.
What kind of voodoo?
So with the comb filter off,
What kind of voodoo do?
it's like a regular vocal. This filter adds like some metallic tones, some cool effect.
What kind of voodoo do? What
The cutoff goes all the way up to 8,782 and the resonance at 31.
kind of voodoo do? What kind of voodoo do?
So I added some little spice, and then we add the Haas effect to make it wide. So usually it's mono,
What kind of voodoo do? What
but we need it to be wide. So we add the Haas effect, these settings exactly, dry and wet 71%. This is just a delay.
kind of voodoo do? What kind of voodoo do? What
So the delay you can turn into a Haas effect by doing these settings.
kind of voodoo?
Now it's wide, and then we use EQ8 to then cut and carve the frequencies into the mix.
What kind of voodoo do?
And we also know that this is an F, so if I wanted to at any time, I could pitch it down, -3, to go to D. Like maybe in a later phrase or something. I could like pitch it down and have 2 different versions. I like this though. I like the higher pitched frequency vocals. That's real cool. And then lastly, this little zap fill at the end, little triplet zap. With the panning going left and right to add really cool effect. So let's listen to all this now. Lots of simple layers, but they all come together to make something very unique and creative and fun. I didn't mention this white noise though. I'm going to turn this white noise off. Listen to it with it off. It almost sounds empty without the white noise. The white noise is adding this beautiful high frequency layer on top of the mix. Listen to that. Yeah, the white noise is sick. This is a noise generator that I made. Basically just does different noises, white noise, using operator. And you can change the resonance, the type. So you have lots of control over your white noise. But just that subtle white noise in the back is going to make a big difference. Now, if you guys want to make this dirty version, you can listen to this, and we'll do this last. So this one's more focused on like some dirtier tones. We're using this comb filter this time at 3371 hertz. The FM from B is at 41, and the comb filter is at 135. These are the main knobs I'll be switching and changing when making these different patches, but all of them are very similar. You know, they're unique, same relatives, using these sine waves and FM from B. There's a supporting bass that's really meant to be directly in the middle, mono. We turn the hyper dimension off to make it more mono. And we change the cutoff. We pull it down to 1455. Changing the filter location, and that's about it. Not too much thought going into making these. You just want to make something that sounds good, that blends good in the mix. Keep in mind too, the basses and the vocal have to flow together, so we always have to remember that. I'll go ahead and put it on this, and we'll ride out. Ooh, you know what it is, man. Big things are happening. Life is changing fast. We are growing, and we are going to make every amazing song possible with this knowledge. These frequencies are more powerful than you think. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for the love and support lately. I really am happy with the way things are going. So just continue to make music, keep producing your hearts out, and hit me up with any questions. Peace out.